Boat of the Dead, Chapter 1, The Crimson Storm. The sky above Frostshore Village burned with a strange crimson light, the kind that made the edges of clouds bleed into shadow. Kael stood on the cliffs, his fingers clutching the jagged rock so tightly that his knuckles turned white. Below, the village screamed in chaos, roofs torn from foundations, carts smashed into splintered timber, and villagers running through the mud, trying to escape the wrath of the storm. He could barely hear his own heartbeat over the roar of wind and waves, but he didn't look away. "Lyra, hold on!" Kael spotted his little sister, clutching the edge of a broken dock. The ocean had risen unnaturally high, waves like walls of liquid glass crashing over the pier. Kael leapt, sliding down the slick stone, reaching out. But then he saw it. A ship. Not any ship of wood or sail he had ever seen, but a phantom vessel, black as obsidian. Its sails rippled like smoke, and shadowy figures moved along the deck as if they were half-lost souls tethered to the hull. The sea obeyed the ship's command, spiraling into a vortex beneath it. Kael froze, heart pounding. Then came a hand, pale, translucent, glowing faintly like moonlight through mist. It reached for Lyra, grasping her wrist with a chilling pull. "Lyra!" Kael lunged forward, but the wind tore at him, and the hand drew her up and away, into the arms of the ghostly ship. Her scream was swallowed by the storm. "No! No! I will find you!" Kael roared, collapsing to his knees on the slick rock. Rain lashed his face, mingling with tears he didn't know he had. The ship vanished into the storm's maw, leaving nothing but foaming water and the echoes of Lyra's cries. That night, Kael sat on the cliffs, the storm finally receding, leaving a sky of bruised purple and black. He wrapped his torn cloak around him and stared out at the horizon. "I don't care what it is, or how it works. I'll find you," he whispered, gripping a jagged rock as if it were a sword. He stood, fists clenched, and descended to the beach. Frostshore Village was in ruins. Smoke curled from the remains of homes, and the few survivors moved like shadows among the wreckage. Kael ignored them. One thought consumed him. The phantom ship, the boat of the dead, had taken Lyra, and he would follow it anywhere. Days passed. Kael scavenged a small boat from the wreckage, a battered fishing vessel with holes in its hull. He patched it with planks and rope, working through hunger and fatigue. As he set sail, the wind whispered through the torn sails, carrying a faint, eerie melody he couldn't place. It chilled him to the bone, but he gritted his teeth. "I don't care what's out there. Ghosts, monsters, spirits, whatever the world throws at me, I will get Lyra back." The first night at sea, the moon was a thin silver sickle above him. Mist curled along the waves, thick and unnatural, almost alive. Kael's boat rocked, not from waves, but from something beneath, the deep thrumming pulse of the ocean itself. Then he saw it, lights dancing on the horizon, flickering like candle flames on water. Shadows moved in patterns too precise to be natural. His chest tightened. The boat of the dead was near. Kael tightened his grip on the tiller. His resolve hardened. "No matter what waits for me, I won't fail." A faint whisper echoed across the waves, unintelligible yet urgent, brushing against his mind. He shivered, but pressed on. The first step of a journey that would take him through death itself. The storm had claimed his village, the phantom ship had claimed his sister, and Kael was coming for her. Kael sails into the mist, the horizon flickering with ghostly lights. The ocean seems to breathe around him, alive with secrets and dangers he cannot yet comprehend. Somewhere ahead, the boat of the dead waits, and the night is alive with whispers of lost souls.
Chapter 2. Allies of the Sea. The mist hung thick over the sea, swallowing Kael's tiny vessel like a beast devouring prey. The air was heavy with salt and decay, and the wooden hull creaked as though whispering secrets of its own. Kael gripped the side of the boat, eyes fixed on the faint glow ahead. He could barely make out the shapes in the fog, drifting lanterns, broken masts, and what looked like fragments of ships long dead. Ship graveyard, or worse. He pulled out his crude oar and paddled forward. The water grew darker, thicker, like black ink instead of seawater. When his oars struck something solid, he leaned forward, only to realize it wasn't wood. It was bone. A massive whale skull, half-sunken, lay beneath the waves. Its hollow eye sockets glowed faintly blue. Kael's stomach twisted, but he pressed on. Then came the voice. "You shouldn't be here, boy." Kael froze. "Who's there?" From the mist, a small rowboat emerged, carrying a man who looked more ghost than flesh. His beard was wild, silver streaked with seaweed, and his left eye was covered with a patch made of fish skin. Yet the hand gripping his oar was steady, strong. "The waters around the Vale Sea don't welcome the living," the stranger said, his voice rough as gravel. "I'm looking for the boat of the dead," Kael said, his tone unwavering. "They took my sister." The old man's expression flickered. Shock, pity, then grim understanding. "You saw it then, the Reaper's vessel," he whispered. Kael nodded. "Tell me how to find it." The old man sighed, dipping his oar into the black water. "If you truly wish to follow that cursed ship, you'll need more than courage. You'll need a crew and a way to pay the sea its toll." Kael frowned. "Crew? I don't have time." "Then you'll die before you ever see her again," the man interrupted. "The boat of the dead only appears to those who have already lost something. You've lost your sister, yes, but you're still too alive, too human. The sea doesn't take kindly to that." He motioned toward his own ship, a weather-beaten brigantine anchored nearby, its tattered sails fluttering like torn wings. "I am Captain Morwen, once of the Crimson Fleet," he said, "and I've chased that ghost ship for half my life." Kael's eyes widened. "You've seen it before?" Morwen nodded. It took my crew, my son, my everything. I tried to reach it, but it vanished into the fog like the world itself rejected me." He studied Kael closely, then extended a hand. "If you truly mean to follow it, then come aboard. But remember, every man who joins this hunt loses something before the end." Kael hesitated only a moment before grasping the old sailor's hand. "Then let's lose everything," he said quietly. The Crimson's wake creaked as Kael stepped aboard. The deck was slick with salt, and the wood seemed alive, humming faintly with something ancient. A few crew members turned to stare, rough faces, tired eyes, but each bore strange marks on their skin, glowing lines like runes etched into their flesh. "Those markings," Kael murmured. Morwen noticed his gaze. "Curses from the sea, each one earned by surviving a place we shouldn't have. You'll earn your own soon enough." A woman stepped forward, wiping grease from her hands. She wore a leather vest, goggles perched on her head, and a dagger at her belt. "Captain, who's the stray?" "This one's got the fire," Morwen said. "Lost his sister to the Reaper's vessel." She whistled softly. Another soul bound for madness. Name's Ira, the ship's mechanic and part-time thief. Don't touch my tools and we'll get along fine. Kael nodded awkwardly. Kael, fisherman from Frostshore. Her smirk faded. Frostshore? The storm hit there last week. No one was supposed to survive. I didn't, really. As night fell, the Crimson's wake drifted toward deeper waters. The mist glowed faintly under the stars, and Kael stood on the bow watching the horizon. Morwen joined him, lighting a pipe. If the Reaper's vessel took your sister, she's not dead. Not yet. The boat collects souls bound between life and death. The longer you wait, the harder it'll be to bring her back. Kael clenched his fists. Then we move faster. Morwen chuckled. You've got spirit, boy, but the sea has its own rules. To find the boat, you must pay tribute. Tribute? Morwen gestured to the ocean. The sea doesn't guide empty-handed men. Offer it what it demands. Kael frowned. I have nothing left. The old captain gave a knowing smile. Oh, you do. The sea always knows what to take. As he said it, the waves shimmered. The water around the ship began to rise, glowing with faint green light. Kael felt a pull, deep in his chest, as if something inside him was being tugged away. Captain, what's happening? The sea accepts your vow, Morwen said solemnly. You've made your offering. Kael gasped as warmth fled his body. His reflection in the water flickered, his eyes glowing faintly blue. The sea has marked you, Morwen continued. From now on, you walk the line between the living and the dead. You can hear them now, can't you? Kael blinked. Voices, faint, ghostly, whispered in the back of his mind. Lyra's voice among them. Brother. Kael's heart froze. He turned to the captain. I heard her. Morwen's face darkened. Then our path is clear. The dead are calling. The sea glowed brighter, and in the distance, through the mist, an enormous black shape moved across the horizon. The boat of the dead had returned. Kael stands on the bow of the Crimson's wake, the ghostly ship appearing once more. His eyes burn with determination and fear as he whispers his sister's name. The hunt has begun.
Chapter 3. The Toll of the Sea. The wind screamed like a chorus of the damned. The Crimson's wake cut through black water that shimmered with faint light, as if the sea itself held trapped stars beneath its surface. Kael stood at the bow, breath shallow, eyes locked on the horizon where the boat of the dead had appeared only moments ago. But now, the mist had swallowed it once again. Was it real? He whispered. Behind him, Captain Morwen's boots thudded across the deck. The dead don't vanish, boy. They wait. Always. Kael turned. You said I could hear them now, the dead. What does that mean? Morwen puffed his pipe, eyes glinting beneath his brow. Means the sea's taken a piece of you. You walk its border. Not living, not dead. As the words sunk in, Kael's reflection in the water rippled unnaturally. His eyes flashed faint blue again. And then he heard it. A whisper. Brother. His pulse quickened. Lyra? The voice faded into others, hundreds of whispers swirling in his skull, rising like a storm. Help us. Free us.
Kael stumbled, clutching his head. The air grew cold, and a pale mist seeped up through the deck planks. Ira appeared from below, wrench in hand. "What's going on? The hole's icing up." Morwen's face darkened. "The toll's begun." The ship lurched violently. Frost spread across the wood, and ghostly shapes began to crawl out of the mist. Figures made of shadow and seawater, their faces twisted in silent screams. Kael drew the harpoon from his back, a crude weapon he'd fashioned during his first days aboard, and took a fighting stance. "What are they?" "The Lost," Morwen said, loading a flintlock pistol. "Spirits trapped between worlds. Every man who sails the Veil Sea meets them sooner or later." One of the ghosts lunged forward, its arm elongating into a spear of water. Kael dodged, slashing through it with his harpoon, but the cut only made it reform. "They won't stay down," Kael shouted. "Then don't fight their bodies. Cut their regret." Kael's eyes widened. What does that even mean? Before he could finish, one of the specters rushed him, slamming into his chest. He staggered backward, and suddenly, he wasn't on the deck anymore. He was standing in a memory. A fishing dock at sunset. Lyra laughing beside him, holding a wooden charm she'd carved herself. A small boat with their initials scratched beneath it. "Promise you won't ever leave me behind, Kael." His throat tightened. But the world shattered, replaced by icy darkness. The spirit hovered before him, its hollow eyes reflecting Lyra's face. "Your guilt binds us. Let go, and we'll rest." Kael clenched his teeth. "I can't. Not until she's safe." He thrust his harpoon forward, its tip glowy faintly blue, reacting to his emotion. The strike pierced the ghost's chest, shattering it into light. The world snapped back. Kael gasped, kneeling on the deck, surrounded by fragments of glowing mist. The other spirits retreated, vanishing into the sea. Morwen lowered his pistol. "You did it." Kael looked down at his weapon, now faintly glowing with blue etchings that hadn't been there before. What happened?" "The toll," Morwen said quietly. "You've paid it. The sea's taken a piece of your guilt and forged it into your strength. But beware, boy. Every time you fight like that, you trade a piece of your soul." Kael stared at his trembling hand. "If that's the price, I'll pay it." Later that night, the crew gathered below deck. The candlelight flickered across their faces, tired but respectful. Ira leaned against the barrel. "Not bad for a fisherman. Most men lose their minds the first time the dead speak." Kael gave a small, humorless smile. "I've already lost worse." Morwen sat at the head of the table, spreading a map, old, torn, ink with symbols that seemed to crawl across the parchment. "The boat of the dead sails on a path no man can chart, but the whispers tell us it always returns to one place, the Isle of Mirrors, a graveyard for souls who can't pass on. That's where we'll find our next clue." Ira frowned. "Captain, that place isn't real. Every sailor who's looked for it never came back," Morwen finished. "Aye, but we've already crossed the line. No going back now." Kael's gaze hardened. "Then we head for the Isle." Morwen nodded slowly. "You'll fit in just fine with the cursed, boy." Hours later, Kael stood alone on deck again, staring at the moonlit waters. His reflection looked older, tired, but there was something else in his eyes now. Determination. He whispered softly, "Lyra, wait for me." A soft wind brushed his hair, and in it he heard her voice again. "Brother, hurry." The sea below shimmered faintly blue, forming the faint outline of the boat of the dead, gliding silently far ahead. Kael gripped his harpoon tighter. The chase had truly begun.
Chapter 4: The Isle of Mirrors. The dawn bled crimson across the horizon as the crimson's wake cut through the fog. The water around them shimmered like glass, reflecting the sky in distorted, shimmering hues. Kael stood beside the bow, the glow from his harpoon faint but steady. He hadn't slept. His dreams had been filled with voices and broken visions of Lyra standing on a black deck surrounded by ghostly chains. He looked out over the mirror-like sea. This place feels wrong. Captain Morwen nodded grimly. Aye, the Isle of Mirrors shows you what you've lost. Sometimes it gives you the chance to take it back. Sometimes it doesn't let you leave. Ira leaned on the railing, goggles glinting in the pale light. You two really know how to make a girl feel safe. The laughter died as the mist parted. Before them rose an island of black stone and crystal spires, each one reflecting twisted versions of the sky. The beach was covered in shards that looked like broken mirrors. At the center stood a monolithic obelisk, cracked but pulsing faintly with light. The Isle of Mirrors, Morwen said. Hold your mind and don't trust your eyes. The moment Kael set foot on the shore, the air changed. His reflection rippled across every surface, each shard of glass showing a slightly different version of him. In one, he was smiling. In another, his eyes were hollow, his hands covered in blood. Ira leaned on the railing. These things, they're alive. Morwen's voice was low. They feed on regret. Don't look too long. They moved inland, following the sound of running water. But the deeper they went, the stranger the island became. The trees had silver leaves that whispered like voices, and every sound echoed twice, once in the air, once inside their minds. Then Kael froze. There, through the trees, he saw Lyra. She was standing beside a shallow pool, her reflection bright and flawless. Her hair shimmered with sunlight, her eyes soft and warm. Lyra! She turned and smiled. You came for me. Kael took a step forward, his heart pounding. It's really you! Behind him, Morwen's voice cut through the trance. Don't, boy. The island shows you what you want most. Kael hesitated. But then Lyra's reflections spoke again. It's me, brother. Look, I kept our charm. She lifted the tiny wooden boat they'd carved together. It was too real, too perfect. Kael's hands trembled. I can't lose you again. He reached forward. The moment his fingertips brushed hers, the world cracked like glass. The reflection shattered, the figure before him melted into a screaming, eyeless shadow. Kael stumbled back, slashing with his harpoon. The illusion splintered into hundreds of fragments that rained down like bloodied glass. Ira ran to his side. Are you okay? Kael panted, sweat running down his neck. It looked so real. Morwen stepped closer, eyes grim. That's the island's trap. It shows the truth wrapped in lies. You'll see everything you regret, everything you can't let go of. Survive that, and maybe you'll earn the sea's favor. They continued deeper until they reached the central obelisk. It towered over them, humming with faint energy. Strange glyphs ran across its surface, symbols that seemed to shift when Kael tried to focus on them. Morwen placed a hand on the stone. This is one of them, the fragments of passage. Each fragment holds a piece of the boat of the dead's power. Find them all, and we may summon the vessel itself. Ira raised a brow. Summon it? That's your plan? Morwen nodded. You can't chase what's already beyond death. You must draw it to you. Kael stepped forward. How? By offering a reflection. The mirror demands truth. Give it a memory that defines who you are, and it will show you your path. Kael hesitated. Then he placed his hand on the obelisk. The world dissolved into light. He was back in Frostshore Village. The sea was calm, the air sweet. Lyra sat beside him, carving wood, smiling. Brother, why do you always stare at the horizon? Because I want to see what's beyond it. Maybe somewhere out there, people don't have to lose everything to the sea. Lyra laughed softly. Then promise me, when you find it, you'll take me with you. Kael smiled. I promise. The memory flickered, the sky darkened, the storm came again, swallowing everything. Lyra screamed as the boat of the dead arose from the waves. Kael shouted after her, but his voice echoed hollowly, and she was gone. "Do you still keep that promise?" a voice whispered. Kael turned and saw his reflection standing before him, pale and cold. I will." His reflection's eyes glowed blue. "Then prove it." It lunged and Kael's harpoon flared with spectral light as he blocked the strike. Sparks of energy flew as their weapons clashed. The reflection moved with inhuman speed, matching every motion perfectly. "You can't fight yourself. You are your own anchor," it hissed. Kael gritted his teeth. "Then I'll cut the chain." With the final cry, he drove the harpoon through the reflection's chest. The illusion shattered into shards of glowing glass that rose into the air, swirling around him like fireflies. The light gathered, forming a symbol in his palm, a mark shaped like a broken compass. When Kael opened his eyes, he was back before the obelisk. The mark glowed faintly, pulsing in time with the stone. Morwen stared in awe. "You did it! You've been chosen!" Ira whistled. "And here I thought we'd lose you to your own brain." Kael looked at his hand. "What does this mean?" Morwen's voice lowered. "It means the boat of the dead has seen you, and it knows your name." As they returned to the ship, Kael glanced back at the island. The mirrors were crumbling, the spires collapsing into the sea, but in the shattered reflections he saw the faint image of the phantom ship, waiting. "Lyra," he whispered. "I'm getting closer." Kael earns the first fragment of passage, marking him as someone recognized by the boat of the dead. But the island's warning lingers. The vessel sees those who seek it, and always calls them closer to its curse.
Chapter 5. The Captain's Curse. Night had fallen hard across the Vale Sea. The Crimson's wake drifted quietly under a fractured moon, its sails torn by unseen winds. The waters below shimmered faintly blue, whispering voices that came and went like breathing. Kael sat alone on the deck, turning the mark of the broken compass on his palm under the dim lantern light. It pulsed faintly, as if alive, sometimes warm, sometimes cold. He could hear it again, Lyra's faint whisper. "Brother, it's dark here." He pressed his palm against his chest, whispering back, "Hold on, Lyra, I'm coming." Behind him, Captain Morwen's boots creaked across the deck. "You're hearing her again, aren't you?" Kael turned. "She's trapped somewhere between worlds. The mark binds you to her," Morwen interrupted quietly. "But it also binds you to the sea. The more you use that power, the less human you'll remain." Kael frowned. "You speak like you've seen this before." Morwen stared into the horizon, his weathered face caught between moonlight and shadow. I've seen it too many times. That mark you bear, it's the sea's chain. I once bore one just like it." The air grew heavier, as Morwen led Kael below deck. They descended into the captain's cabin, a room lined with maps, talismans, and bottles filled with strange, glowing liquid. In the center hung a painting, a massive ship engulfed in mist and fire. Its sails were made of tattered souls, and the hull seemed carved from black bone. The boat of the dead. Kael stared. "You've painted it?" Morwen nodded, from memory. He poured himself a cup of dark rum, then began to speak, voice low, each word like a wave breaking against stone. "I was a pirate once, captain of the Crimson Fleet. We plundered kingdoms, ruled trade routes, and thought ourselves untouchable. Then came the storm, red as blood, with thunder that screamed like dying men." Kael leaned forward. "When the storm cleared, we found her,
the boat of the dead. It drifted silently towards us, its crew nothing but shadows. We thought it was a ghost story made flesh, a prize beyond imagining. I ordered my men to board it. He paused, staring at his trembling hand. The moment our boots touched that deck, the sea went silent. My crew fell, one by one. No wounds, no cries, just silence. Their souls were taken. I tried to fight it. I even spoke to her. Kael's heart skipped. Her? The keeper of the boat, Morwen said darkly. A woman of pure shadow, eyes white as salt. She called herself Nerothis, the ferryman's bride. She said every captain who defies the sea owes her a debt, and that my debt was due. I tried to make a deal. I begged her to spare my son, but she laughed, said if I wished to see him again, I must become what she was, a keeper of souls. Kael felt a chill crawl up his spine. So you're half dead? Morwen gave a weary smile. Aren't we all, boy? The ship suddenly lurched. A crash echoed above deck. Captain! Ira's voice rang from above. We've got movement, port side. They rushed out. The mist had thickened again, and through it faint lights glowed. Lanterns swinging from phantom masts. The sound of creaking wood and ghostly chains filled the air. Kael's blood ran cold. It's here. But Morwen's eyes narrowed. No, that's something else. Out of the mist came a small ship, rotted, broken, its sails shredded. But there were figures aboard. Shadowy, moving like marionettes. The voiceless crew. Morwen's voice turned grim. They're the ones the boat doesn't want. The rejects, souls bound to wander the sea forever. Kael stepped forward. Then let's free them. Careful, boy. They aren't human anymore. The ghostly ship drifted closer, and the figures began to wail without mouths, an echoing, voiceless scream that made the air tremble. Kael felt his vision blur, the mark on his palm pulsing. Stay with me, Ira shouted, covering her ears. Kael gritted his teeth, his harpoon flaring blue. The air around him warped, and once again he saw flashes of memory, faces of the dead, drowning, reaching for salvation that never came. One of the voiceless lunged onto the deck, its body a mix of rot and fog. Kael swung, the harpoon slicing through its chest, but instead of dissipating, it grabbed his arm. Suddenly Kael saw through its eyes, a burning ship, men screaming, a child clinging to debris. The same storm. Morwen's storm. He gasped, yanking back. Captain, this one... It was your crew. Morwen's eyes widened in horror. No. The voiceless pointed at him with trembling hands. Its hollow voice echoed faintly through Kael's mind. You left us. You promised. Morwen's face twisted in pain. I tried to save you. I tried. But the spirits surged, howling. Kael planted himself between them. Enough! He roared. Channeling his power, the glow from his mark expanded, casting light across the deck. He's not your enemy. Let go. The ghosts froze, then slowly began to fade, dissolving into the sea. The mist cleared, and silence returned. Morwen fell to his knees, trembling. They were still there, all this time. Kael put a hand on his shoulder. Then set them free, Captain. All of them. Including yourself. Hours later, dawn broke once again. Morwen stood alone at the bow, eyes on the horizon. The boat of the dead takes everything, but maybe it gives something back. Purpose. Kael joined him. Then let's make that purpose count. Morwen smiled faintly. Aye, you've got the heart of a captain in you, boy. The sea won't let you go easily. Kael looked down at his glowing mark. Then I'll drag it with me. Far off in the fog, faint bells began to toll. Not from the crimson's wake, but from somewhere deeper in the mist. The boat of the dead was calling again. Morwen's dark past is revealed, tying him directly to the origin of the boat of the dead. The sea grows unrestless, and the next time the phantom ship appears, Kael may not have the strength or soul to resist its call.
Chapter 6: The Ferryman's Bride. The dawn was pale and cold. Mist rolled across the deck like a living thing, coiming around the crew's boots and whispering faint, broken voices. Kael stood by the bow, eyes locked on the horizon. His compass mark glowed faintly through his glove, each pulse syncing with the toll of the ghostly bells in the fog ahead. The boat of the dead was near. Captain Morwen emerged from below deck, his coat flapping in the sea wind. His eyes were sunken, face drawn. "We're entering the ferryman's passage," he said quietly. "No ship has ever come out of it whole." Ira gripped her spear tighter. "And yet, here we are." Morwen gave a grim smile. "Aye, here we are, chasing death itself." As the mist parted, the boat of the dead appeared. It was enormous, its masts rising like black spires, its hull carved from what looked like stone and bone fused together. Lanterns burned with blue flame, casting light that swallowed the sea. The ship's figurehead was that of a woman's face, mouth open in an eternal scream. Kael felt the mark on his palm sear. "She's calling me," he whispered. Morwen's eyes darkened. "Don't answer her!" But it was too late. The air trembled, shadows rippled across the water, and then she appeared. At the heart of the phantom ship, upon a deck made of mirrors, stood Nerathis, the ferryman's bride. Her dress flowed like smoke, threads of darkness weaving endlessly behind her. Her skin was pale as sea foam, and her hair drifted weightlessly like it floated in invisible water. Her eyes were pure white, no pupils, only light. When she spoke, her voice was soft, melodic, and wrong. "Welcome, my wayward children. You followed the tolls well." Kael stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Are you Nerathis?" "I was Nerathis once," she said, descending slowly down invisible steps, each one forming from mist. "Now I am the sea's promise, the keeper of debts unpaid." Morwen's hand tightened on his sword. "You took my crew." "They took themselves," she replied with a sad smile. "They defied the sea's call and drowned in lies. I merely gave them a home." Her gaze turned to Kael. "And you bear my mark. You carry the compass of souls." Kael's breath hitched. "Why me?" "Because you sought to defy death," she whispered. "The moment you begged for your sister's life, the sea heard you. It answered through me. You were chosen to bridge the living and the lost." Kael took a step back. I didn't want this. I just wanted her back." Nerathis extended her hand, long fingers gloved in shadow. "Then come, bring her back. All you need to do
is take my place." The world seemed to still. Even the waves stopped moving. Morwen shouted, "Kael, the compass! Use it now!" Kael looked at his palm. The mark pulsed brighter, responding to the chaos. He held it forward, and the air shimmered. The blue glow shot upward, forming a circle, a gateway between the living and the dead. From within, faint light emerged, soft, warm, familiar. Lyra's voice whispered, "Brother." Kael's heart ached. "Lyra, I'm here!" But Nerathis turned her gaze upon him. "You open doors you cannot close, child." Her shadow surged toward him, wrapping around his body like tendrils of cold flame. Kael gasped, feeling the life drain from his veins. Then Morwen struck, his blade slicing through the tendrils, freeing Kael. He shouted, "Run! I'll hold her!" Kael shouted, "No, I can't leave you!" Morwen smiled faintly. "Seems the sea finally called me home." He looked at Kael, eyes soft. "Take my soul and finish it." The compass mark on Kael's palm flared, pulling in light, Morwen's essence. For a moment, Kael saw flashes of the captain's past, his wedding to Nerathis under the moon, his betrayal, his endless regret. Then, silence. Nerathis' shadow exploded outward, shaking both ships. "You took him from me again!" Kael's eyes blazed. "No, I'm taking him with me." He raised his harpoon, its blade now glowing gold and blue. The air around him warped, the power of both life and death intertwined. His body burned from the inside, but he didn't stop. For a brief moment he saw her, Nerathis, crying. "Why does love always end in loss?" Kael whispered, "Because we keep chasing ghosts." He drove his harpoon into the deck, unleashing all his light. The boat of the dead shuddered, then cracked apart, collapsing into a whirlpool of white light and shadow. When the storm cleared, Kael found himself floating on debris. The sea was calm again. The crimson's wake had vanished. And in his hand, the compass mark was gone. Only a faint scar remained. And from the sea breeze, he heard Lyra's voice, soft and gentle. "Thank you, brother. I'm free now." Kael closed his eyes, tears mixing with salt spray. He looked toward the horizon. The sun broke through the clouds, warm and golden. For the first time, the sea didn't feel like a grave. It felt like a promise. The boat of the dead is destroyed, but Kael is left adrift between worlds, freed of his mark, but burdened with memory. The sea is calm, but whispers remain. Something stirs beneath the depths.